This week is Parashat Noah, as everyone knows, and I would like to say some words concerning what we mentioned last week, that Hashem created the world for Torah and Israel. But where would Israel come from? The Ramchal writes in Derech Hashem that it was an open option. The person who excelled in trusting in God, in believing in Him, in keeping His commandments, he would be chosen as the one to start this special nation in the world who will be called Israel. And it was open for all competitors. So one of the questions is, we see in this week's parasha about Noah that the Torah praises him very greatly. And for some reason he was not chosen to be the starter of the new spiritual world, which eventually Avraham was the one who was chosen. Okay, Noah was the one chosen to save the physical world. In other words, when Hashem saw that the whole world was corrupt and he decided he's going to bring a flood upon the whole world, he wanted to preserve mankind. So he chose Noah and his family to be the ones who will come out of the flood alive by being saved in the ark that he made upon the instruction of God. So we see Noah was very righteous. The pasuk says, Ele toldot Noah, Noah is tzaddik, Tamim haya bedorotav, et ha'elokim hithalech Noah. I don't know whether about anyone in the Torah that so many praises are said. These were the generations of Noah. Noah was a righteous person, a tzaddik. Tamim haya bedorotav, he was perfect in his generation. Et ha'elokim hithalech Noah, he went with God. These are very big praises. Also it says, Ki otcha ra'iti tzaddik b'fanai b'dor hazeh. You are the most righteous person that I see in this generation. Ki otcha ra'iti tzaddik lefanai b'dor hazeh. So you are going to be the one who will survive the flood, and from you, the future generations of mankind will come to be. So in other words, Noah is the one who founded the world after it was destroyed by the flood. So if so, why wasn't he chosen as the one who would also start this new special nation of Am Israel, who will be the servants of Hashem and receive the Torah? On the other hand, we see that Hazal, that the rabbis of the Gemara, of the Midrash, of the Zohar, are not so fond of Noah. And all the praises that the Torah says about Noah, they explain them in a way which they become negative. For example, we said at the beginning, Noah is tzaddik, tamim haya bedorotav. Noah was a righteous person, he was perfect in his generations. Our rabbis come along and say, some explain this in a positive way about him, some explain it in a negative way. The positive way is, if he was righteous in a wicked generation, how much more so would he be being righteous in a generation of tzaddikim? But the other group of rabbis said, that's not the meaning. It's negative. He was righteous in comparison to the other people in his generation. But if he was living at the time of Avraham, he would have not been considered at all as anything. He would have been nothing in compared to Avraham. We have to pay attention to this. Then the next pasuk says, "Et ha'elokim hithalech Noah." Noah walked with Hashem. So our rabbis comment, concerning Abraham it says, Hithalech lefanai ve'yeh tamim. Go in front of me and be perfect. Go ahead of me and be perfect. And so our rabbis say, Abraham didn't need support from Hashem to hold him, to make sure that he goes the right way. On the other hand, Noah, haya tzarich sa'ad letomcho. Noah, he went with God, meaning only as long as God was supporting him and guiding him, he went the right way. If not for Hashem being with him and supporting him, he wouldn't have gone the right way. But Abraham, on his own, he went ahead of Hashem. Ithalech lefanai ve'yeh tamim. Go ahead of me and be perfect. He could be righteous on his own, and he didn't need the support of Hashem continuously to keep him on the right path. And then again the pasuk said, Ki otcha ra'iti tzaddik lefanai bedor hazeh. I see you as the righteous person in this generation. So again it implies, in the words of Hazal, only in this generation you are special. But compared to Abraham, another pasuk. ויבוא נוח ובניו ואשתו ואנשי ביתו איתו אל התיבה מפני מי המבול. When Noah saw the water starting to rise, and he realized this is the flood, this flood is going to start now, so he went into the teva, he went into the ark, mipnei, just before the water of the Mabul got up to him, just before the flood hit him. So Hazal say, Af Noach mikitani amana haya. Noah was not a perfect believer. He didn't truly trust in Hashem. Hashem said, I'm going to bring a flood. He didn't take it so seriously. Ma'amin ve'enu ma'amin sheyavu hamabil. Like, sheyavu hamabul. He believed, but he wasn't fully believing that this is going to happen. And he didn't enter the teva, he didn't enter the ark, till he had no choice, till he was literally pushed into the ark with the waters through the waters of the flood. When he came out of the ark, when the rain had stopped, so the Torah tells us, "Vayahel Noach ish adama v'yita karim." So Vayahel can mean, and Noah began by first and foremost planting a vineyard. Oh, that's nice. A good start. Hazal say, no, Yahel doesn't mean he began. Yahel means hulin. He made himself hulin. He made himself cheap and profane. He made himself profane. Why? The first thing he did, he planted a vineyard. Instead of doing something positive and planting wheat and barley so that he can make bread and feed people and his family, he starts off with the first thing, wine, to drink. And really what happened? He got drunk, and the outcome of this drunkenness of his was that his evil son, Ham, did a sin because of the situation. And who was the cause of it? Noah, who made himself profane by planting a vineyard and getting drunk. There are many positive things he could have done first, which should have brought blessing to the world. Instead, he chose of something which brought a curse into the world. So we could answer our question. Of course, our rabbis have no ulterior motives, and they're not out to criticize a person. The Torah is saying he's great, and they say he's no good. Hazal have a reason. They're coming to teach us why was Noah not chosen as the founder of the Jewish nation, and Avraham was the one who was chosen. Because Abraham was something else altogether. Avraham was not someone wavering in his behavior, one day like this, one day like that. He had full trust in Hashem. He stood up alone against the whole world of idolaters, refused to bow down to idols. In fact, he smashed all the idols in his father's collection. And when Nimrod, the king of that area, threw him into a burning furnace to punish him for smashing the idols, Hashem made a miracle and he came out alive. Hashem saved him because he was willing to jump in. It was no problem for him. He was willing to give up his life for Hashem. The Ravad asks, what's so special about Avraham that we speak about Avraham? We had at the time two great Rosh Yeshivas, Shem and Ever. So for sure they were also objecting to idol worship and telling the people don't worship idols. So why are we making something so special and great about Avraham Avinu? So the Ravad answers, there's one big difference between Shem and Ever and Avraham. Shem and Ever, yes, they were telling people we're not meant to worship idols, keep away from idols, don't bow down to idols, everything very nice. Avraham Avinu smashed the idols. That was the difference. That was the leader that Hashem wanted. Hashem tells us, where did Avraham come from? From the other side of the river, Me'ever Nahar. Hazal tells us this has a very special message. Avraham was chosen by Hashem because Hashem saw in him this power of conviction that he could stand alone on the other side of the river with the whole world against him on the opposite bank, and it doesn't disturb him that he's on his own against the world. He's got this strong conviction, I know what I'm doing, I know the way, I trust in Hashem, and I'll do what I have to do at all costs, at any price, and I will not give in because I'm just one person or a small family against the whole world who think differently and do differently and live differently. These are the characteristics that Hashem wants upon which to build the Jewish nation. To have a nation who could stand alone and live their lives according to the Torah on the other side, on the other bank. And even though the whole world doesn't live like them, doesn't behave like them, is living a different lifestyle, Avraham was willing to live the way that Hashem commanded him, with total trust in Hashem that Hashem will help him overcome and do the right things and bring the world to perfection.